could take Nick's presentation and replace the word vend with Xero and replace point of sale with accounting software, and you kind of get the gist. But I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to take you through some practical examples of content-led campaigns that we've run at Xero. So who knows about Xero? Do I need to give the background? Yeah, maybe. Been around since 2006, founded by serial entrepreneur Rod Drury, who was pretty pissed off with MYOB, thought there had to be a better way, had been thinking about what's the biggest monetizable market, who's going to pay for stuff in that small business. So between him and his accountant, Hamish Edwards, they created what is Xero. And rather than taking an offline product and just throwing it online, they actually sat down with small business owners and worked through their process. So it's a very highly designed software application designed specifically for small business owners, and it's in the cloud, $49 a month. So it's a very disruptive play compared to the big incumbents in the market. So we're facing off against MYOB in this part of the world, Intuit in the US, and Sage in the UK. So just beasts, behemoths. So I'm taking a bit of a different stance today and really going to talk about content marketing, but how we use social media as the channel to push content marketing, to push the content to drive leads back to our site and therefore convert them to sales. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. My job is to generate leads and sell software. So go back. I don't have lots of slides. I'm just going to talk to you. Yeah. So content marketing is pretty much a hot, buzzy topic out in marketing land at the moment. And the reality is, it is what we have always done at Xero. We have used content to build our brand and to sell the solution. So back in the day, my background is massive above-the-line campaigns for large telcos. And given our global aspirations, there was no way that we could go above the line sustainably globally. So we're here in New Zealand and we're entering the US market, we're in Australia, and to hit small business, which is so diversified across so many vertical industries, there's no way that even an online campaign would be sustainable with the budgets that we have. So we're a software as a service model, and we have to work within a very tight cost to acquire. The great thing about Xero is that our customers, like Vend customers, seem to love us. They say accounting is sexy. So the feedback that we're getting from Twitter, the feedback that we're seeing in our blog, the conversations that we're creating and the responses that we're getting gave us this absolute insight that our customers had this very emotional connection with the software. So we don't have to talk about the functional, obvious things that it's available 24/7, it's a certain amount of money, it's in the cloud, unlimited users. We can use those engaging stories to really, really sell the software. So when a small business owner says, I'm a plumber, and I have just saved $20,000 because I haven't had to put a server in my business to network my office ladies. I'm using Workflow Max and Xero and spending $150 a month, and I can now spend my Sundays with my family. That's gold. So content, and we use to inform our case studies, and we're using customer stories to create that. Now, it's all very well creating a nice case study video, and they're not as easy as they look to knock out, as much as our sales team think that we ship this stuff. The reality is that it requires a lot of preparation and a lot of research, and so we have very, very high standards at Xero, particularly on the production side of the business, which is why we work with the Socialize guys. So high standards is one of our brand pillars. So great, we shoot a video, we might blog it, we can put it on the case study section of the website, but how the hell are people going to find it? So our job is to create, get the content out there, get it placed. So that's where social media comes in, because we can control those channels. So as I said, we could throw out a video, tweet it, hope like hell that people are going to find it. So our job in marketing is to make sure that when we are putting resources into creating this content, and while it might not be literally expensive in terms of using advertising agencies, etc., to build it, it's still resource intensive from our side, so we've got to have a really coordinated plan. So today I'm going to take you through two examples where we have used content to create lead generating campaigns, where we've used social media as the channel to drive that traffic back to Xero.com, because when we drive traffic to Xero, then they get to try the software and buy the software, and at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So, firstly, not-for-profit. It's a massive sector globally, okay? Back in 2010, we did a great deal with Plunket in New Zealand, fantastic, iconic brand that we've all had some experience with in our lives as either children or parents. And Plunket mandated Xero through their 400 clinics nationwide. So our sales team, as this deal was being closed, like, hey, marketing, can you knock out a video for us so we can use it as a sales resource so that when we're talking to other associations or not-for-profits or early education, we've got something we can show them that they will go, great, we'll throw it into all of our offices or network. And we were like, yeah, great, that's fine, we'll do that, but we wanted to make sure we do a good job, so we engaged Socialize and had Pat film a beautiful video, and it hits Brooks Point. Babies are very popular. And what we could have done was given it to the sales guys as a resource and left it on our case study page, but we knew that this had many more legs. So now you can hit it. What we did was we delayed the video, the launch of it, much to the horror of the sales team. And we coincided the launch with a nationwide not-for-profit conference that was taking place in Wellington. Now, normally with these types of events, we will send down a salesperson who will man a stand and take any interest in accounting software, demonstrate it, sign them up. This time, though, we sent down our comms team, and their brief was to capture content. So they sat in on the keynotes. They were listening to the insights from the industry leaders about what are the hot topics in the not-for-profit sector. We instructed them to identify some of the industry leaders and to get some Vox Pop video, take lots of photos, and basically spend the day capturing a lot of content that we'd be able to use in a broader campaign. While all that was happening in the background, we also developed a landing page, and we also created an offer, because as you'd imagine, most not-for-profits are wanting something a little bit sharper than a business as usual price because they don't have a lot of money. So we developed a 25% discount which we would be able to apply globally. So this is how it all played out. Yes, we blogged it, as you'd expect, but we blogged the fact that we were down at the conference and we were really excited to be there, that we had been working with Jenny Prince, who was the CEO of Plunket, and had the video sitting in the blog. Over the course of the day, the guys were tweeting, they found those industry influencers, and they grabbed a fantastic video with Brent Kennelly, who's a partner from one of our accounting partners, Grant Thornton. Now, we hadn't had a relationship with Brent before, but he is the main sort of accounting spokesperson for the not-for-profit sector. What he said in that video, we couldn't have paid him, couldn't have said it better. He basically reported how important it is for not-for-profits to use accounting and things like cloud solutions, and free access to the cloud would just make it so much easier for these organisations that are very resource-strapped and obviously don't have a lot of money. We pushed it out through LinkedIn, we had the photos up on Flickr and created this general buzz. BNZ, we'd lined them up to tweet it through their social, through Twitter and have it up on their marketing site because they're a main sponsor of BNZ, and they featured ever so quickly in the video. And then Jenny Prince also tweeted the video, which she indicated that they weren't going to promote it in any way, but on the day when she could see the excitement, she got caught up in it as well. Of course, it all had to land somewhere. And it landed on a landing page, funnily enough, where we had constructed what are the benefits of Xero for the sector. Here, the video resides instead of on a case study page, and more importantly, there was an offer. So it meant that anyone that was watching those social channels that came into the landing page could go, wow, that's fantastic. So it wasn't just New Zealand, it meant that anyone who was following us on Twitter in the US could come in here and find that offer. So in the meantime, in tandem with all of this, we have also been producing regionalised content. So in the US, we've just completed a video with Pat for a little league club, baseball club in San Francisco. And in Australia, we have a fantastic case study of the ACT Scouts group. So when Australians now come into the Xero site, next slide, they get the same landing page, but they get the Australian case study. So it's really important for us that we're using these authentic stories, and we can continue to tell new stories, and we can continue to promote them in this way. It means that our inbound direct sales team have got somewhere they can send customers who are wanting to know more about their sector. They've got an offer they can give them. Our sales guys have now got a suite of resources that they can be using if big opportunities are coming up, like clubs, charities, the healthcare sector and early childhood education. So this is the approach that we're taking for our entire vertical strategy. We've identified sort of 5 or 6 really key ones, and they get very, very deep. So the creative industry, the hospitality industry, franchise. So you'll start to see more and more of this content get built out. We've just finished a campaign with Vend, where the insight was Small Business Saturday up in the USA is the biggest retail day last weekend. And so in leading up to that, we got in touch with Vend and Shopify, who we'd already done a couple of beautiful video case studies with, coordinated our PR and social media tactics so that we were all referencing each other, and collectively we put together an offer, which we yet to get the results on, but I'm pretty sure it's going to fire quite well. Add to this our accounting channel network. So one of our core acquisition channels are accountants in practice, and they basically buy Xero on behalf of their clients, and they own the billing relationship. So go to the next slide. What accountants aren't good at is marketing, and so we recognise that pretty early on, and we create a marketing partner guide. So when they partner with us, they get access to this fantastic guide. It's an interactive guide that talks them through, how to create their brand, what is SEO, what does a landing page look like, basically marketing 101. We give them advice on how to run events, how to run direct campaigns, but also how they can build their individual social media profiles and how they can build their business social profiles. So with this content that we create, we actually lift and shift it and put it in this guide and encourage them to run their own direct and social campaigns if not-for-profit happens to be a sector that they're very passionate about or have a lot of clients in. So those resources are getting used not only for our direct channel but also our partner channel. So it's that great network effect, and for the partners, the call to action's back to them, so it's generating leads for them as well. I should point out that when we were coming up with this not-for-profit campaign, we did consider doing pay-per-click, Google AdWords, but there were no obvious search terms for not-for-profit and accounting software. People look for accounting software, not the two things together, so we discounted that. The one tactic that we also ran in conjunction with this campaign was traditional PR, and it didn't fire. So because we didn't have the US content ready, when we were talking to our agency, Borders and Great House, they were like, hey, we think the 25% off is actually really fantastic. The competition isn't doing this, so we'll do a press release, we'll hustle it, and we'll drive the leads back to the offer on the site. We got nothing. So I think the learning from that was that the press release was very selling, very retail-y. It was a deal. It didn't have the authenticity that the other content had. We developed an invoicing guide recently. Doesn't sound very sexy, does it? But invoicing and cash flow is obviously, or cash flow as a result of effective invoicing is very important to small businesses. So SEO is one of our major strategies, particularly in the US when we're still growing our brand. In New Zealand we win search naturally, but in Australia and the US we've got a lot of work to do. So SEO is a big focus for us. And one of our tactics is to develop link-bait campaigns. And so what we've decided in consultation with some industry experts is that we're going to build a series of small business guides, because that's what our customers are telling us they want. And so the first cab off the rank was invoicing. Now, rather than us preaching with a top 10 tips like you see in most blogs, excuse me, we got the community to do the work for us. So we wrote a blog and we said, hey, tell us about your experience, or good or bad, about how you're getting paid and how you invoice and your cash flow issues. And we were rather overwhelmed with the response that we got. So we directed the blog readers to our community where we had a series of questions, and in a week we had 1,400 responses, which we didn't quite expect. But anyway, that meant that we then had to spend quite a bit of time collating those replies and finding out what the themes were. Once there was a clear couple of themes that started to come through. So sitting down with our comms and design team, we felt that this content and insight and the data that we had, overlaying it with some of the data that we're able to aggregate from Xero itself, we could produce a rather stunning infographic. So They built the beautiful infographic, and again, you've got great content, but you've still got to get people to look at it, share it, and promote it. So in the promotion of the infographic, we did have a key objective. We wanted to make sure that we were getting external links from, really high-ranked sites, and we set a target on that, and we doubled it. And it wasn't 1 and we got 2, it was a bit more than that, but I can't share those stats with you. But it was on the back of a major outreach campaign. I can't stress that enough. We did spend a lot of effort between all of us and our personal networks, our business networks, our various PR agencies that we have offshore and their networks, as well as using Distilled, who's our SEO consultancy. So a major outreach push. But it's beautiful, and the great thing about it is that it's chunked up into three sections, which are all shareable. So every component of it has, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook, so people can share and like. It did get major pickup in a lot of industry blogs, and again, it's another resource our accountants can use. So the insight was that most businesses, when they set their payment terms, people will still pay 2 weeks later. So if you have payment date on the 13th, they'll still pay on the 29th or whatever, 2 weeks after, whatever that is, 13 and 14, 27th. If you say the 30th of the month, it'll be 2 weeks later. If you say in 7 days, 2 weeks later. So if you need to be paid in 13 days, in 30 days, set your payment terms for 2 weeks prior. Pretty simple. So there's a nice, beautiful graph that demonstrates that, if you can imagine that. Then we had all of the some really cool insights, so some of the comments that came through in the questionnaire, and shared those. So again, our customers telling their experience. And then we had a quiz, are you a master of invoicing? And this is the piece that got shared because it was a bit fun. So there were 5 questions, and through the through the journey of doing the quiz, you'd get, nah, you're useless, or hey, you're a quiz, you've got the invoicing skills, and you've got a little award at the end that you could also share. So those are just 2 examples of content-led campaigns that we've built. In summary, I can't stress enough that you need to plan. As you would with an advertising campaign, you have a media plan. The same goes with when you produce content. You've got to have a plan to leverage the hell out of it. You've got to set objectives for that content. Again, with an advertising and media campaign, you've got to have a return on investment. And even though you might be producing this content in-house and it doesn't feel like it's costing you anything, it is. It's very resource intensive. So make sure your content plan supports your sales and marketing strategy, that you're setting goals and objectives against it, and that you've got an ROI. Make sure it's measurable. I think everybody has said here today, the great thing about these using social channels and content is that you can measure its effectiveness. So you can learn what's working, what's not. For us, it's about learning, giving it a go. Did it work? No. Well, hell, we're not going to do it again. But if it's working, let's just absolutely pimp that puppy and keep lifting and shifting and repeating. Resourcing, again. In HQ at Xero, 50% of our team are production people. These skills are in the production side. So they're copywriters, designers, front-end developers, videographers, and illustrators. So if you are structuring a marketing team where content is going to be part of your strategy, you really need to think about the skill set that you have in the team, or thinking about your budget for what agencies you might be using, what freelancers you might be using. And again, if you're choosing those, what kind of production skills do they have? And finally, and I think this came through from everybody as well, don't be scared. It's okay to give things a try, because people will tell you very quickly if they don't like it, and that's good as well, because the whole point of social channels is having that engagement, having that conversation and learning. So listen and engage with your audience, the good and the bad. And they will sure as hell tell you how they feel about you and your brand more than any advertising, brand or media agency ever will. That's me.